So get these off of here. Now what we got is, as you've seen, we have a mobile home. That's our house, and getting a whole house water system isn't that easy. We can't get the big tall standing ones. We have issues. We have certain things we have to deal with here in terms of the weather and whatnot, so, and the limited amount of space that we have to work with. So I came up with this system a few years ago and got it piped in there. Everything was new when we moved the house here. We had a new water tank, all new water lines right from the well, brand new pump. Everything was freshly installed. We put everything brand new when we moved in here. And I wanted to put this whole water filter system on, but the concern was obviously that it can't freeze. It gets down sometimes, 20 below zero here in southern Maine. It can get really cold. So it really is a concern as far as the weather goes. And my hands are frozen. That's trying to change hands. I got a glove on the other hand. And so that's that was my main concern. Now, these mobile homes, at least this one here, I'm assuming the ones that are, this is quite an old home, but it had a forced hot air heating system that is very close to where I put this water filter system in. Now, the forced hot air furnace that we have that heats our home actually has a vent that comes out right directly below the furnace and blows some warm air underneath the home here, under the trailer. Now we have a concrete slab. The home sits on a concrete slab, so that holds a little bit of heat, and with the little bit of heat that it gets from the furnace, it actually keeps it around 40 degrees. Of course it varies on how cold it gets outside, but generally speaking it holds it above freezing no problem. So I don't have to worry about anything freezing under the mobile home unless we lost power and the furnace went out or something like that, in which case, of course, the concrete is going to hold some heat. As long as you're heating it from the beginning of the season, it'll hold some heat for some period of time, maybe not long, but I've got ideas on backup plans if that ever happened. It's never happened yet, and I'm not too concerned with it happening. I think one time I woke up in the morning, it was 21 below or 22 below zero, and there was no water. It had froze. So I had actually just put a quick heat to it. I had a propane salamander space heater type thing that I put under here for maybe a couple minutes, and it was fine. It wasn't even frozen solid. It was just got cold, and that was the worst case scenario that I've ever had. So with that in mind, what I wanted to do was give the water tank and the water filter some protection from the cold. So I built a little box, and I'm just going to flip this camera back around and show you what I did here. So here you see the skirting on our mobile home. I opened it up already. It's pretty simple. You just take it off and slide a piece out. And what I did is I built this box. You can see this is just insulation. I think that's the 1 inch or maybe 1 1/4, 1 1/2, I'm not sure. But it's the thicker insulation. And I made a little box. It's not thick over here, but the door in the front is this thickness. So I just basically built this little box, and I'm going to open it up for you right now and show you how it comes out, and then how we access the water filter from here. Maybe this will help somebody else who's in these conditions and needs to come up with an idea on how to filter their water and not let everything freeze underneath. So let me get this set up and I'll show you how I do it. Okay, a little bit of an awkward angle here, but hopefully you can see what's going on. So basically, like I said, I built this little box out of insulation, and this is with the heat that gets blown underneath a mobile home. It constantly, at least under the home in the area where I've got the thermostat, and I'll show you where I have it here. Basically, real simple. I just made a couple little spacers to hold it on. It's nothing fancy. It's very crude, and there's nothing special about it. I just was looking for a way to trap a little more heat inside where the filter and the water tank were, and I came up with this rather in a last minute kind of. It's pretty tight under here. Let me get that out of the way. All right. So here's what we got. Let me show you. got this wireless thermometer that I put in here, and this is just the sensor. I have the base inside the house, and that tells me the constant temperature inside this little box. So I know if I can monitor it from inside and know if it's getting below freezing for some reason, which would tell me something's obviously not right, because as I mentioned, we have hot air that blows underneath this whole house and warms up the concrete, and it doesn't stay hot, but it definitely stays above freezing, and that's all my goal was, just to keep everything above freezing, which it seems to work. Now, if I ran into a real issue where I thought I might have more problems, I also put heat tape on here. So you can see I ran heat tape all the way down, and it goes all the way, it's on the back side here. And I wrapped it actually inside this insulation here, but there's heat tape that runs, and you can see it right here, under here, and follows the line. So this also I can control. It's plugged into an outlet underneath the house here. Then the other thing I did is I also put a small little heater in here, and that also is on an extension cord that I can plug in. It's on all the time, but it only turns on if I plug it in upstairs. So if I notice the temperature in this little box, which this sensor will tell me is dropping below 32, and I'm concerned, I don't want anything to freeze, my water tank, my water lines, my water filter, I can turn this little filter on. It puts out just enough heat with the insulated walls here in this little box that it keeps everything well above freezing, never even close. So I have no concerns. It's kind of like a triple backup system. Heat under the home, a heated power cord line, and a mini heater that I can plug in anytime. This power cord line, I may have said I plug it in. Actually, what happens is in the winter time, it's plugged in all the time right here. And what happens is in the fall, I'll come in when it starts getting cold, and I'll plug it in, and I'll leave it running all winter. And then in the spring, I'll just unplug it. We don't need it, obviously, so I don't even use it in the summertime. But the heater is what I run a cord upstairs, and if I notice the temperature is dropping, I can monitor it through this sensor. I can just plug that little heater in from inside, and it drives the temperature right up in here. So I really don't have any issues, but for today, we're just going to be replacing this water filter. So I'm going to set the camera back up here. It only takes a couple minutes. I'll go ahead and get that done, and I'll show you the process. I have this little instruction sheet here that tells me it's kind of old and kind of beat up, but right there you can see where it shows the top of the filter, and the off position is when the lever is turned towards me. This lever has 3 positions. Right now it's in the middle, and if I turn it one way it'll bypass, and if I turn it the other way it'll turn off. So I'm going to just pull it towards me, turn it off. Now that turns off the water to the entire trailer, and hopefully Brenda's not in there using it. She's not. So again, pull it towards me, turns it off, and I'm going to just set the camera up here and just unscrew this, and we'll get that new filter put in there. All right, here we go. So gonna get a little bit wet maybe from the water that comes in, that stays in this canister part, and the water that's coming down on me from the side of the trailer here, from the roof. So I got it off already. I'm just going to turn this lever, turn this canister here. Try to get a good angle on it. All right, I got that loose. I may have over tightened it a little bit, but I'm going to take my gloves off for this next step because I know everything's going to get wet real quick here. And so basically I'm just going to unscrew this. dump this. All right, so here's our filter. Here's our old filter. Just gonna leave this over here. And I brought a rag. Just wipe this out a little bit. And take my new filter. Comes with new washers. You got to be careful with those. They don't stay on the filter by themselves, so you got to be careful when you place them in the right place. Make sure they're on there. Same with the O-ring that goes on the canister itself. I may not be using all the right terminology, but
no kidding.
You guys get an idea of what I'm doing here.
I'm not so sure about that.
All right. So we got two new washers for the end of the filter on each side, and those go in there. Now I'm just going to put this one inside the canister right there, the bottom, so that when I put this filter in there, it'll line right up. And then I'm going to go ahead and screw that back on. Actually, I'm going to take my O-ring first. There's an O-ring that goes on the top of here. Okay, screw that back on. And as you screw that on, that'll line itself up inside. I don't want to overdo it because it was pretty tight to get off. You just give it, I think, an 1/8 or 1/4 turn after it seats, just like that. And then go ahead and turn your water back on and you'll see it filling right back up. Make sure you check for leaks. Once you've checked it for leaks, everything looks good. It's on. Everything's fine. All right. That's it. New filter installed. It's really not that difficult to do. It's a tight spot to do under a mobile home, but it's actually, I find it works pretty well. It would be nice if it was in a basement, but you know, we don't live in a home with a basement, so that's what we deal with. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this all back together again. That's it. All done. New water filter. And we'll take the old one, throw that one out. Now, the purpose of trying this one is to see if it was going to be any better than the ones we've been using. I gotta say, yeah, definitely like it. A little bit more money, but for the job it does, definitely see us buying some more of these. So, hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Please like, subscribe, share. Really appreciate everybody watching the videos. Big help for us. Thank you all very much. We really appreciate it. And we're going to be putting out a lot more videos coming up. Got a lot of things coming on. Got, of course, some more maple syrup we can do, and I got to go get my trash before it blows away. You all have a nice day. Take care. Bye. Much better water pressure.